Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be working back on the 52 Chevy, but before we get into that, I just want to show you my new shirts I just had made. It's a 52 Chevy on the front with my little Show-Fill logo in the center, as well as on the back, the Show-Fill logo. I had it made for working around the shop, so I don't get my good shirts dirty. Figured just throw these on, work in the garage. I really like how they came out. They're comfortable. Let me know what you think of them in the comments down below. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today's going to be a shocking video, and I'm not talking electrical, I'm talking shocks. Front and rear shocks are getting done in this video. I bought two for the front, two for the back of the 2006 Chevy HHR shocks. Now when buying these shocks, I needed to take into account the compressed length of the shock as well as the extended length of the shock. This is a bag truck, and I needed to be able to compress the shocks all the way down to a certain length and have them extend all the way back up to a certain length. So my shock choice was very limited. So I actually found that the 2006 Chevy HHR gas-filled shocks from AC Delco are the perfect height for what I need to use. The problem I'm running into now is the top shock hole is actually a little bit bigger than 3/8, smaller than a 1/2 inch, but I do have a lot of meat on this one, so I'm actually going to drill this hole out to a 1/2 inch, put a 1/2 inch bolt through there. The lower is about a 1/2 inch, slightly larger, but a 1/2 inch bolt fits. The problem I'm running into is the lower shock studs that I got look like this. This part right here screws into either lower control arm or on the rear end. And this shaft right here is supposed to go through the shock, but the problem is too small. The shock hole is too small, and I don't have a lot of meat on the lower hole to drill out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these, get rid of them. I can't find replacement ones. I can't find different ones easily available. So what I did was I picked up a whole bunch of 1/2 inch grade 8 bolts. This part right here is going to get welded into where I want it to go. I'm going to put a polyurethane bushing, which looks like this, onto the bolt. I have to drill that out a little bit. So the bolt, polyurethane bushing, and then this will slide on right about here. And then I've got a lock nut that goes on the end here. That's how we're going to hook the lowers of these shocks in place. And then the tops, the front, I've got brackets. The brackets look like this. These will get cut down to whatever height we need. This will get adjusted to fit inside the ears right here. That'll get bolted in place there. And in the rear, we're going to have to custom fabricate some upper brackets for these shocks as well. So I'm going to walk you through the entire process of the front and rear shocks. So without further ado, it's time to glove up and let's do it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to drill out the 4 polyurethane bushings that are going to be used between the body of the vehicle and the actual shock, just to give it a little bit of a cushion. I'm going to try this drill press setup right now. We'll see how it goes. Pretty good. Now we'll just do the next 3, same exact way, and that's exactly what I was going for. All the polyurethane bushings have now been drilled out. Now we're going to set up the shocks to drill out the top eyelet to a 1/2 inch hole. Alright, so I've got this clamped in my vise right now, trying not to mar it up as much as I can on the bench. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little oil in here. The hole doesn't need to be drilled out that much, which is nice. Just enough. I mean, we're talking a really small amount, so this should drill relatively easy, as long as I can keep the drill bit straight. So I'm just going to put a little oil in there. Help with the cutting. Let's see what happens. Perfect fit right now. Now we're going to repeat the other 3 shocks. All the shocks are completely drilled out at this point. We're going to go back out to the garage now and actually continue working on figuring out the lower mounts with the bolts and getting those welded in place. So we're going to start working on the rear shocks right here. I'm going to put a hole right here in the lower control arm bracket that this bolt will weld into right here. This shock will then slide over this. Right now we're fully aired up with the truck and the bags in the back. You can see the bags have air in them. This is probably a little higher than ride height. So we want to actually get this put into the correct riding position when it's fully extended, the shock's fully extended, the truck's fully at ride height. So this is going to slide on right down here. So we're going to get the lower bolts welded in first, get them bolted in, then we'll work on the tops of the brackets. So that's what we're going to work on right now. Trying to figure out where I want to mock up this actual hole to make sure I still have enough room so when I actually put the bolt through here and I put the shock on, I'm not hitting the lower 4-link bracket bolt or nut. The way I'm right now, it's going to give us that much room, which would be plenty of room, and should give us enough meat to grab onto. So I'm just going to replicate this on both sides, this side and that side. We'll get it drilled, put the bolt in there, weld it in place. The lower bolts will be done. Got the little pilot hole drilled right now. I'm going to mark this up on the other side and do the exact same thing. Now we're going to be drilling the pilot hole on the driver's side. We've already done the passenger side. We're going to do the driver's side right now. Now that we got the pilot holes drilled, I'm going to use a stepper bit to drill this out to a 1/2-inch hole. Going back to the 1/2-inch drill bit, I'm thinking if I can oblong the hole up and down, I'll have enough room to pop it through. I think I need to go at this angle so I can get the bolt through. I might have to take this lower 4-link off so I can get a better angle. And that should work out nicely. This polyurethane bushing will go on like that. The shock will get mounted to this like this, and then we have the lock nut that goes on the end here. So this is lining up perfectly as I was hoping it would. Now we really just need to get this bolt welded in place. Gotta make sure it's straight when I weld it because I don't want it to be crooked. Drill off the passenger side hole right here with the stepper bit, then we'll round it out with the actual 1/2-inch drill bit. I'm going to throw the lower 4-link bar back on the driver's side and take it off the passenger side just so I can get that angle in the drill. So now we're going to actually work on taking this one off and drilling the angle so we can get the bolt through this side. I'll use this magnet to hold them in place. We're going to clean up the drilled hole right now with the flap wheel and the mini belt sander, and then get these bolts welded into place, and then get the lower 4-link bars back on. I have the lower shock bolts welded in place for the rear of the truck. The driver's side, this is the passenger side. Slip down the polyurethane bushing right here, so that'll go right up against there. Shock will slide on, lock nut will go on the end. So these are really sturdy right now. By leaving the end of the bolt on here, even if this weld broke loose, this is still going to tighten up right here. So I don't have to really worry. The welding's really just to tack it in place and hold it so I can bolt this on nicely. But that weld should be pretty good. Plenty of room to still get the lower 4-link bar on and the nut. Which is what I wanted to make sure I was able to do on both sides. So I'm going to put this lower 4-link bar back on this side right now. I'm going to up the air of the bags right now to lower the truck all the way down to make sure that the shocks are going to fit, that I measured correctly about 1,000,000 times last time I looked at this, so let's do that now. Crushing my oil can. Gotta get the air back out and get this up quick. It's good. Very strong shocks. Trying to figure out what I can do to compress them all the way down. Alright, so I've got a zip tie going around the shock, compressing it all the way down. So I know exactly how small this will actually get without having to physically hold it, because it is really tight. And this is going to be right on the money, perfect for what we need it to do. Just gotta figure out how to do the top mounts of the shocks right now. Alright, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna cut the upper bag mount to make room to actually put the shock in here. I'm going to cut along here, just clear out a little section so when the shock comes up it should mount right about this section right here. So hopefully we get this cleared out, then we can figure out how we're going to actually mount the shock. I might do another stud like I did down below right up here, then the shock will just slide on sideways and then bolt into place and be done. So let's get this piece out of the way right now and then we'll see what we have to work with. So this section's been cut out now, right here. I'm going to put the shock on down here now just to see how it's going to fit up into place and what we can do. Kind of what it's going to look like. Might extend this just a little bit up here more. Plenty of room for clearance. Almost like another stud right there. Okay, I think I got the plan figured out. I weld in a little gusset between here to here, put a bolt through it, weld this bolt into there. We're in good shape. Should air the truck up and test it with a fully extended shock, just to make sure. So let's air the truck up right now. You can go along for the ride. This is the shock fully compressed. This is the shock fully extended. So you can see this travel distance that the shock has. It's actually pretty significant. So right now the truck is aired all the way up. We're going to test it with the fully extended shock. We know the plan when it's fully down, so oh yeah, we're good. So right now we're going to work on cutting the piece that's going to go here that this bolt will actually bolt into and be right about there or so. I need to fabricate a piece of metal, basically extending this out here. So we can bolt into, weld this bolt into place. That'll be in really good shape. Slight change from plans, but it's gonna work. Welded in here. It's going to be really thick metal. It'll be nice and strong. Hole's going to go right about here, I'm thinking. have to lower the truck back down to verify that, but this template will pretty much work on both sides. Might want to make this a little bit bigger. This is compressed all the way right now. I don't really want it compressed all the way down. If I want to lower the truck even more, I'll be able to later. So let's just make another template real quick, a little bit bigger. Here's the template. This actually fits perfectly on both sides. I'll trace this down into metal for 2 of them. We'll pre-drill the hole so we don't have to do it when it's in the truck. And once that's situated, we're gonna just clean up a little bit in here with the grinder and then weld the piece of metal right here. Let's do it. So I found a usable piece of scrap metal. I've got a whole bucket full of just random scrap metal left over from this truck build so far. So we're gonna, this piece of metal will actually work perfectly for 2 of these templates to be traced out on. Should fit perfectly. It's about a 1/4 inch thick piece of steel, so I'm gonna trace this on here right now and then cut it out. Two of them fit perfectly on here. I'm gonna mark where we want to drill the actual holes to it while we're at it. I just have to punch a hole in here and transfer it over to there. I'm going to hit these with the flap wheel and the grinder just to smooth them out, clean them up a little bit. Now we're going to drill the 1/2 inch hole into the little brackets we just made. So we're going to do one on each side. Now we're going to weld the bolts. They're going to be the top studs into these brackets here. Weld them right where they are. That way when we weld them in place in the truck, we don't have to worry about them not being able to get in there to weld them easy. So I'm just going to work on cleaning up this section right here, grinding it down, cleaning it up, getting ready to weld in our piece we just created from our cardboard template to metal. So we're just going to clean this up a little bit right here, make sure the metal's all ready to go. Now we're going to tack in the bracket we just made right here, tack that in, test fit the shock. Now we have the top stud and the bottom stud welded in place. I'm going to let this cool, and I'll slide on the polyurethane bushing, and we'll bolt the shock on to see how it actually fits, and then we'll raise and lower. While that's cooling off, I'm going to work on the driver's side now. So now I'm going to work on cutting the upper bag mount to make room for the shock like we did on the passenger side. Once that's cut out, we're going to weld in our bracket with the top shock stud. Going to go here. Once that's welded in place, the passenger side should be cooled down. We'll get that all bolted in place with the new shock. And then we'll come back to the driver's side and the rear shocks will be complete. Need a new cutoff wheel, this thing's jumping around. So the tops and bottom shock mounts are done. Now we're going to bolt them all back in and test up and down, make sure everything's functioning. These top mounts might get boxed in later. We'll see how strong they are. It's going to be pretty strong right now, they're not going anywhere. So let's do that, let's get everything put back together and fully test it out. We put on the polyurethane bushing. Get it right on. It should fit right on here. Shocks are done in the back. So this is what we have for the passenger side shock. Got the top shock mount. It's fully welded in with a stud and a lock nut. And you go down to the bottom, which hooks to the lower control arm. That's got a stud with a lock nut. The angle's not too bad. I think it came out really well. Now the trick, just to make sure everything's gonna be good, is to test airing the truck up right now. And here we have the truck fully aired up, probably higher than what it would actually be at ride height. Everything's articulating nicely. The shock's fully functional. It's hard to show you just me here, but I can't really bounce on it. I'll probably add some gussets on the back side here just to add a little extra support. Came out really good. Alright everyone, that's going to be a wrap for this video. I was really hoping to get the front and the rear shocks done, but this video is running pretty long. I think we're on part 27 now. So the rear shocks, as you saw, are completely finished at this point. In part 28, coming up in the next video, we'll hammer out the front shocks, and the shocks for the front and the rear will be completely finished. As always, if you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, go to somebody else's channel and give it a thumbs down. Just kidding, don't really do that. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification icon down below so you know when future videos do come out, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.